everybody. Thanks for joining me here today. Sorry for the little bit of a late start there. Had a couple technical issues, but we got those taken care of. This is Nichole with Topaz, and today I am happy to be with you for this session, Compelling Black and White Landscapes. Um, the landscape genre of photography is one of my favorite to use with black and white processing, so very excited about this session. So with landscape photography, again, it's one of the most popular genres out there, and it can sometimes be really hard for certain images to stand apart from the crowd. And some photographers and some people choose to turn to black and white processing because it can make their landscapes really pop and stand out and be a bit different. You can also push it way beyond certain aspects than you can with color, and we'll talk about that as well here in a few minutes. But one of the best programs we have available for that is our Topaz Black and White Effects program, because it can really help create these dynamic and compelling black and white landscape images. So let me show you a few before and afters, and then we'll go ahead and head into the program, and I'll show you the more specific areas within Topaz Black and White Effects that I feel can really help push white processing even beyond typical black and white processing. So here's a before. Now a lot of these images you might say, wow, they look really great in color, or I think I could do a lot better with that in color, and that's understandable. Some of these have some beautiful colors to it. But one of the great things about black and white processing is that you're able to eliminate color, which can sometimes distract the eye and really take away from the shape and form and texture and tonality of the image. So transferring it into a black and white image can really, especially when dealing with landscapes, can really open up the entire scene if you eliminate that color area. Let's see, I'll show you a few others here. This is another idea about how you can kind of really put focus into the form of the image and the tones. So something like the beach here, where you have these shapes of different dryness of sand. Really can't see it very well, but I took it into black and white effects, was able to make that pop out a little bit, and took away some of the distracting elements while still leaving a little bit of the original color in there. I'll show you how we go about doing that as well. Show you a few other specific ones. Here's before and after. You can get a lot of beautiful tones within black and white effects using either the silver and paper tone or the quad tone. We'll be going over both of those toning options. Here's another image where the color might seem a little bit just really bright and takes away from the overall scene sometimes. And here you're able to really focus in on what the image is about and the foreground. Now this is one of those color images that is just so beautiful that I never even thought, you know, okay, let's take this into black and white effects. But once I was able to take it into a black and white processing, able to really pull out some interesting elements in it and really pull the attention directly to the composition versus the color being a part of that composition. So we'll probably start off with this image here. Let me show you a few other before and afters. Here's an image that doesn't have a lot of really great contrast right off the bat, and when I pushed it with color, it really started to bring out some gaudy colors because of this kind of turquoise water. It just brought it a little bit too much, and I was able to really focus in using this black and white processing here. And we'll go ahead and go back to this image here to start off with. So I'm going to make just a copy of my background and go directly into Topaz Black and White Effects. Now this is going to be Topaz Black and White Effects 2.1, and if you are still using Topaz Black and White Effects 1 or 2.0, please know that this is a free upgrade for you. You can just go to our downloads page at topazlabs.com/downloads, download the latest version of the black and white program, and it should just automatically work because you're already using your previous key, and it should just automatically work for you. So I'm just going to come down to this lower right and press Reset All. Now I have the reset all to go to a neutral grayscale image. So even when I go to my before and after by pressing my space bar, or if I look at my before and after by looking at my split screen, it's not going to show my original color image. It's only going to show um, my neutral grayscale. And that's something you can change within your preferences by coming down to menu preferences, and you can look at your original show colored before image. So sometimes that people really like to see their colored image when they look at their before image, and I prefer the grayscale. So that's what we're looking at here. And it's just an automatic neutral grayscale image. Let me give you a really, really brief intro to black and white effects in case you've never seen the program before, but then we'll go into some of the specific features I think you should know about whenever working with your landscape images in a black and white process. So this is laid out very similarly to the rest of our programs with our collections of presets over here on the left. The collections are up here on the top left. So if I want to look at my cyanotype collection, I can just open up my cyanotype collection, and all of my cyanotype presets will be here in the preset panel below. As I scroll over the presets, you'll see this little flyout come out. That gives you a very quick view of what that particular preset might do for you. You can click on it, it's applied to your image, and you can see it in your main screen. We have a traditional collection that's going to be based more off of the silver gelatin type of effects with just slight cooling or warm tone type of effects. So we have warm tones, cool tones, some borders in here as well. You can play with all of these different presets to get some really nice traditional looks. You have your toned collection, which is going to give you anywhere from antique dye, which is going to be a little bit more, a little bit more heavy-handed of a toner, to something like a very subtle selenium toner that will just bring out your blacks and add a little bit of punch of kind of a purple into your shadows. We also have our traditional sepias and sepia selenium mixes, all these different traditional darkroom toner presets for you. We have a cyanotype collection, which we just looked at, which will simulate traditional cyanotype printing, albumin as well, which is going to be more purple and browns more than anything else, kind of with yellowing highlights. It's quite beautiful on many of these presets are quite beautiful. I really like them. And then we have our Van Dyke Brown, which is going to be more rich tones of brown. And you also have some more yellowing highlights. But this is after the traditional Van Dyke Brown printing, alternative process of printing. You also have your palette type collection, which is a little bit more historical. It simulates the historic process of printing on milk or opal glass. And then we have my personal favorite, the Platinum collection, because it just gives you some really lovely, subtle platinum palladium type of presets. Now, as if you were ever a traditional platinum palladium printer, you know that that's very hard to simulate as far as a digital processing, but we have some specific conversion and exposure tools within this program that allow for a pretty nice simulation for a palladium print or a platinum print. Here's before, here's after. You also have something called My Collection. This is where you can save all of your personal presets as you continue to go along. You have favorites. You can mark your favorites by clicking on the star whenever you are on a certain preset. If you click it, you can turn it your favorite. You can see that it goes to be your favorite when the star to the left of the actual preset is blue. Go into your favorites, and the preset will be there for you to use. You also have snapshots, which is just a workflow tool. If you're interested in a more thorough introduction into this program, you can look at the intro to black and white effects, and it goes over all of these tools very specifically. But one thing I definitely want to make sure you know about, especially if you're new to this particular interface, we have this little grid icon to the right of each collection. If you click on that grid, it's going to pull up our quick grid view that allows for you to look at all of the presets within that particular collection in one screen like this. So you can quickly scroll through and say, I really like, I really like this warm tone 1. I'm going to click on that. When you click on it, it is applied to your image, and you're brought back into the main interface. So this is a great tool to know about these little grid screens. These are all your preset options for saving, deleting, importing, and exporting presets, your snapshot camera where you can take snapshots along your workflow just to save kind of little screenshots of what you've been doing. You have your menu options down here with your preferences where you can do such things as change that before, after for your color or grayscale. You can enable or disable your tooltips. There's little pop-ups that might annoy you. Lots of preferences here. You can look at your image in this main view area before and after by clicking on this split screen icon. Over here on the upper left, you'll see your before on your left or after on your right. You can also go before and after by clicking on the little arrow icon. And I like to actually toggle back and forth using my space bar. I find that to be really simple. You have your zoom tools over here. You have your zone system tools over here on the upper right. If you're unfamiliar with this feature, definitely check it out. We have a quick tip tutorial specifically on the zone system. It is a great feature that we added within 2.1. But basically you can see if you are of the more traditional zone, if you use that system to try to place certain areas or tonalities in your image within one of these zones, you can check out and see if it's placed where you want it to be just by clicking on the zone. So here's my zone 1, and I see that that purple shade is going to be my zone 1. I can turn my zone 5 off. Maybe I want to see if I have anything in my zone 10 where I wouldn't want anything and it looks like I'm good. There's no areas where it's getting cut off. But as I come in and click on my zone 9, you can see a little bit of that very, very light zones. That's good. So zone system, very cool tool if you're unfamiliar with it. We also have an inspect mode. So it's kind of like a loop. And you just click on the little bullseye and you can click anywhere in your image, and over here on the top right you'll see it at 100% just in that area that you click on within your image. We also have the ability to get rid of the side panels just by clicking on the little double arrow icon here. And this allows you to look at your image in without any distractions. And you can change the background color, which is the icon directly next to it. All right, so let's go ahead and let me get back to why am I okay? We'll go. We'll stick here. I'm going to bring back both of these panels, and we're going to come over here to the right. I'm going to go down here to the Reset All button on the lower right again, and show you some of the features that I immediately go to whenever I play around with this image. Now, usually I come to the left, and with these with black and white effects, it's one of the only programs that I almost always start off with a preset. And I really like to start off with the Platinum Collection. For this particular image, I find that maybe the more delicate types of transitions and tonality would be really nice, especially with this very smooth water and some of these really beautiful subtle tones in the mountains in the background. So I'm going to maybe just take a look at my Platinum Collection and my quick grid view. I'll do this Platinum 4. I really like this tone. It's a little heavy, but we'll take that out just in a little bit. All right, so over here on the right-hand side is really where all the magic happens as far as being able to come in and change all of these different adjustments. But up at the top, we have this quick tool mode, I guess you can say. And we have the ability to quickly add a filter. So you can come in and click on a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, or back to neutral filter to see if something just kind of stands out at you. And, you know, the red filters are really great if you're trying to make a blue sky go really dark. For this particular image, I'm really liking this blue filter because it really just lightens everything up and brings my attention to the dock itself. Here's my before and after. It just kind of lightens everything up and makes it very beautiful for me, so I'm going to leave it there. We also have some other quick tools below that, the ability just to add some contrast. And I'm going to add just a touch of contrast. We have the ability to brighten or darken. I'm pretty happy with my brightness right now, but we also have the ability to add some adaptive exposure. The adaptive exposure is something that within black and white effects is very specific to this program. It's also specific to Topaz Adjust, but as far as that technology, adaptive exposure and regions technology, it's something that will allow your black and white processing to really stand out amongst other black and white processing as well, because it can add impact very quickly. It can really bring in a lot of shadow detail and highlight detail, which is very important when it comes to black and white processing. And that's going to be these tools here on in the quick grid. It's going to be these little guys that look like tiny sliders, but you can also find it in your adaptive exposure tab below that. Now with the platinum presets, they are majority of the time the regions are at 50. This allows for the most localized exposure to happen possible, but the adaptive exposure is pretty far down. So if you want to add in adaptive exposure, you can just take in that or take that adaptive exposure slider up, and you'll start to see a lot of that localized exposure pop coming in. And you almost start to get a pseudo HDR type of an effect with your black and white processing, which can be very cool. Now for this particular preset, the process details independently was on, so it was giving me a little bit of a smooth effect. But as I take that off, you can see it really brings out detail, really brings out a lot of other things. Now for this image, I'm not going to go over that too much more because I'm going to go over it in another image. It doesn't do a lot of great things for my very smooth area, so I'm going to take this back down to 0.25 and say process details independently. And let's go ahead and hop on down to all of our conversion tools. In our main conversion tool, we have the ability just to, in our basic conversion tool, I'm sorry, we have the ability just to add normal contrast and brightness, but you can also boost blacks and boost whites. So with the boost blacks and whites, you can quickly come in and put your blacks closer to black, or you can boost your whites closer to white, or actually take it down and really put a lot of tonality into any areas that might be exposed. You have a lot of contrast control just within your basic exposure tab here, which is great to have when you're working with black and white images, especially black and white landscapes. So I'm going to boost my whites up just a touch, and I'll leave my boost blacks alone. Pretty happy there. I do want to bring this closer to black, but I know it's going to come into my toning versus my contrast. So then down in the adaptive exposure, I already showed you the adaptive exposure and regions. We'll go into that a little bit more, but we also have in here detail and detail boost. Now detail is going to add in overall detail to your image. As you take it up, you can really start to see a lot of detail come through in those detailed portions of your image. For this particular image, since I have all this smooth water, it's bringing out some noise-like detail within the water, so I'm going to take all of my detail out. But just so you know what detail does, I wanted to show you. And then detail boost is going to take the even smaller texture detail and really boost that up. So you can get a very detailed, very grungy type of black and white image very quickly to get kind of a stylized effect. It's very cool. I'm going to take that back down just by double clicking. That will get me back to my default number if I just double click on the actual word itself. Then I can come into my color sensitivity. Color sensitivity is very good, especially when working with landscapes. You can come in and specifically change the brightness of a certain color range. So if we just click that on, let's say my original image here was very blue and magenta. So if I changed my blue and took my blues to the negative and made it closer to black, you'd start to see all those blue tones that were in that original color image start to go more towards a darker tone. So that's great if you're wanting to make a blue sky really dramatic very quickly. You have that ability. If I want to take it up just a little bit, which I do with this particular image because I really want to put the attention just on my dock. So I'm going to take that blue towards the upper area. I'm also going to take that magenta up just a little, maybe the cyan. Okay, that works for me, and we're going to keep going. We already applied a color filter, which was that blue color filter, but if we wanted to add additional strength, we could open that back up. And not only can you choose the color hue, you don't have to use these quick tools. You can change that exactly where you want it to be. These color filters can completely change the whole look of your image, whole look of your landscape within just one little switch of the color hue. So if it's on blue, what it's going to do, what color filters are going to do, it's going to simulate you putting that color filter on your lens. So it's simulating a traditional color lens filter being placed on your camera whenever you're shooting black and white. So what it would do is it would make all of your blues and your magentas a little bit lighter and brighter and take all of those complementary colors and make them darker. But you can take the strength up and make that even more light, those blues, make everything a bit darker, or you can take it down and not make it as strong. I liked where it was, so I'll leave it about right there. We also have a traditional curve tool in here, so you can just open that up, and maybe if you want to add a little bit of light contrast, you can do that with the curve presets, or you can come in and actually create your own curves and work with this yourself. Okay, for the rest of this image, we also have some creative effects, which we'll go over here shortly, where you can actually add in more of a painterly effect, which can give you some very interesting effects as far as going a little bit more stylized with your black and white processing. We also have the ability to add diffusion or glow to images. It's beautiful with certain black and whites. You can posterize or add camera shake. One of my favorite things within this black and white effects program is the ability to add local adjustments. So this is really important in certain images. For this one, it's important for me because I really want to add detail to this dock and really have some of this texture of the wood and the paints and just kind of the corrosiveness of it come through. However, if I add that detail through my conversion and my adaptive exposure, it's going to start doing negative things to the rest of the rest of my image. So what I can do instead is locally add detail using my local adjustments tool. Here I'm able to dodge, which is going to make the areas lighter, burn, which will make the areas that I paint darker. I can bring back the selective color, so if I want to bring back just a little portion of the color, I can do that through the color brush. I can smooth out certain areas, so if I wanted to smooth out my water just even more and make that more dramatically nice and very, very smooth, I could do that with the smooth brush, or I can add detail. And I think the detail is the most important in this particular local adjustment panel because it can just really make your eyes go directly to where you want it to be. So I'm just going to change my brush size. I'm pretty happy with my brush size right about there. The opacity I'm going to make pretty obvious here. I'm going to take it way up so we can really see it on the webinar session. I'll keep the hardness down and I'll take my edge aware all the way up. If I take the edge aware all the way up, it's going to be pretty, it's going to be very edge aware. So as I scroll over my dock and all of the different posts here, it doesn't matter that my brush is going into the water like it is right now, because as long as I keep the crosshairs of my brush exactly where I want it to affect on the color or tone that I want it to affect, it's not going to go into any other tone. So I'm just coming in and quickly making some brush strokes on the dock itself. You'll see the thumbnail mask on the lower right as I continue to paint. You can see just how edge aware it is. It's not even filling in all the different textures because there's so many different tonalities in this texture. So it's taking some time to get it all, but I can quickly add in detail exactly where I want and really have my subject stand out, or the area of the image that I want stand out that much more very quickly. Let me show you this before and after. Here's before and after. So you can see all that texture has just come through. If I want it to be even stronger, I can take this overall strength up and really push that. Again, here's before and after. So I'm really happy there. Now I'm going to go down into our finishing touches. We have several things in here that I think are really important to know about. The silver and paper tone is a good one. We'll go over that here shortly. But the quad tone is also another toning module you definitely should know about, especially considering that most of these presets over here on the left side are created using this quad tone module. So the quad tone means is basically to tone this image and give it this kind of warm tonality that it currently has. We've placed 4 tones into the tonal scale of this neutral grayscale 0 to 255 scale. And those 4 colors, when you open up your quad tone module, are going to be in the color swatches. So here you can see that we've added in an almost black. It's very close to black, just not quite there. some dark tan, a little bit a lighter mid-tone tan, and then almost looks like almost bright white, if not exactly white. The way that you can tell what the color actually is just by clicking on the swatch. So I'm clicking on this black swatch, and it opens up a color selection menu. Now you can see over here we're almost at black, but not quite. And so if I want to take this shadow area a little bit closer to black, all I need to do is take my actual color closer to black. I'm not going to go all the way black, just almost there, because I want to leave it a little bit matte looking. And I'm just going to say OK. And you can see that that changed and is now darker. If I want to make it even more darker, I can move this color one region, which is associated um, with this black swatch of color. And as I move it up, it's going to place more and more black into my lower shadow areas. I'm going to open that back up and maybe just leave it right there. I'm going to change my color to region. I want to take this a little bit lighter, not as toned, so I can do that a couple different ways. I can come in and select a whole different color, but for this one I'm just going to take this crosshairs within the color selection and just move it down and take out some of that saturation. As I take out some of that saturation, it's going more towards a mid-tone gray, and so I'm just going to maybe leave it a little bit warm and press OK. And you can see it's changed within the overall image. Same thing with my lighter mid-tone tan here. I'm just going to go more closer to gray. Still leave a little warmth in there. There we go. That's looking great. And I'm going to look at my white, and I'll go a little bit whiter because it is more of a cream color, and just say OK. All right, so you have a lot of control in your toning capabilities within black and white effects, more so than you might find in other programs. And this is really great for adding in the toning and the color that you're wanting to put into each region of your tonal scale. If you want to continue to play around with them, you can play around with your region sliders, add more of that darker gray into more of the lower regions. Got to be careful because it will start to block up sometimes in these black and white processes. All right, now we come down to film grain. We do have a true film grain library, which is also a nice feature to know about within this program. It's all been scanned in from the type of film that you actually see here. So all of this was scanned in and is a true grain library. Now for this particular image, I don't want any more grain added. I really want to keep this really smoothness to it. So I'm just going to take that off. Happier there. Then I can do some other things such as add a vignette, edge exposure, border, transparency, but we'll look at that in the next flow. And I am pretty much done here. Here's before my neutral grayscale. Here's after. All of my attention is now going directly to this dock, and I feel like I've really been able to eliminate any distraction that that color had. Even though the color was quite beautiful in this original image, you can tell how different you can very quickly get when you're working with that black and white processing versus color. So here's before and after. I also want to go over, let's go over this image over here. We'll do this one. To go through some of the more traditional landscape tools I think you need to know about, like those color filters, and really play with our blue skies and get a more dramatic effect that really stands out. And I'll show you how quickly that can be achieved. I'm just going to take this background copy and make a quick copy. Make a filter, Topaz Black and White Effects 2. And I'm not going to start off with a preset at all for this one. I'm just going to come down here and press Reset All. And I'm back to my neutral grayscale. Now up here in the top left, I know because I had a nice blue sky, I wanted that sky to get somewhat bluer. I want to see how a red filter would affect it. So I'm just going to click on the red filter. And I like what's happening already. Here's before, here's after. Now this is without changing any sort of exposure or anything. It's just applying that or simulating that traditional filter. I think I'm going to keep my strength, maybe take it up just a touch. As you play with any of these quick tools, you'll notice that the actual module that's controlling those tools will pop open and allow for you to continue to change the strength or adjust it just a touch. So that's good to know about as well. I think I'm going to increase my contrast just a little bit, but I think that went a little too much for me, so I'm going to take my contrast down in this basic exposure. That looks pretty good. But I definitely want to increase the adaptive exposure. Here you can start to see that my shadow areas are definitely very dark, and I have some highlight areas as well that are starting to get losing a little bit of detail. There's still some really nice texture and detail in there, but it's definitely the shadow areas that I'm more concerned about. I want to open up those shadows and um, bring out some of that texture really quickly. And the way that I can do that is through my adaptive exposure, but I also have these quick tools. So I'm just going to click on this quick tool and see what happens as I take this up. And I'm just keeping on clicking on it. And as you continue to click on it, it's just going to get stronger and stronger. And it's getting a little bit too dramatic for my taste for this image, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how quickly you can open up these shadow regions. Now, one thing I'm going to do, since we now have this adaptive exposure tab open, is come down and maybe take my regions up, and what that will do is will break down my image into even more sections. It's almost like placing a grid on top of your image, and then within each one of those sections, it looks at the exposure of that image and tries to balance it out and create detail and get a lot of nice tonalities within each region. Now it's going to do it in a very natural way, but if your adaptive exposure is way up along with the regions going way up, that's when you'll start to see those pseudo HDR types of effects. So taking that down by still keeping your regions high, you can just open that up a touch and really get a lot of nice shadow detail coming through without going too stylized. Here's before and here's after. Now I'm going to add in just a bit of detail here, but I also am going to say process details independently. That will take away some of that stylization that was added in with the heavy regions adjustment. But now, even though I've taken away the process details independently, I can now take my detail and detail boost up and still control my details in a very specific way to get the detailed effect that I want. So here's before and after. All right, I'm pretty happy with my brightness. I do want to go ahead and show you these quick tools as well. This is going to be for your silver and paper tone, and you can add in just a little bit of a selenium type of tone. This is just going to give you a more generic type of tone for that. Here we have a gold or blue tone, which is really nice for this particular image. Here we have a red or copper tone. We have a more sepia tone. And then we have more of an antique dye. For this one, I think I'm going to go more towards the sepia and just take my tonal strength down and make that much more subtle of a tone. I think that's really nice. Just a little bit of a warm tone. Here's before and after. You can quickly add in beautiful tone this way just by using these quick tools and then taking your strength down or up. If you want to actually come in and change the silver tone, which is going to be the tone of your mid to shadow tones within this within your image, you can do so by changing the silver hue. So maybe if you wanted that to be blue, you just take that blue and you'll notice a very strong blue tint has changed. Or if you want to change the paper hue, which is going to be your whites or lighter mid-tones, you can change that as well. I'm going to keep it on more of that yellow to get more of the sepia going there. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, take that tone strength down just a little. So that's the other main toning module within this program. I really like that simplicity of this one versus the quad tone, which is a little bit more specific and a little bit more robust of a toning module. All right, let's look at some of the other things here, such as the color sensitivity. Now, this is a really great one for this particular image. If I'm wanting to get my sky to be much darker, really bring that blue down, I can just come directly to my blue and take that down. And if that's not enough, maybe taking some of that cyan will help. Definitely does. That went a little too far for me. Okay, so here's before, here's after. I really like that, so I'm going to leave that right about there. I could also come in and possibly change my greens if I want to take my greens down or up. See what happens there. I think I'll take this up just a touch. My yellows for the mountain. I can really change the whole effect and whole feel of this image with these particular sliders. And that's one thing I really love about black and white processing is because you can really take this to an artistic level and push the tones in a very dramatic way and still have it feel, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Just have it feel very clean and beautiful without going more towards kind of oversaturated or gaudy when you really push the colors sometimes in color processing. So you have the chance, because you're already viewing it in a way that most people don't view real life, you can take it to that much more artistic level by just really pushing these tones very quickly and going in whatever direction you really feel you want to for your image. All right, there's a couple other things I want to show you real quick, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys for questions. If you have any specific questions or would like for me to go over some of the images you saw in the beginning, just let me know. I will try to answer as many as I can. But I do want to definitely show you a couple specific things that are great. So for this image, I've noticed a couple things. I'm really liking this reflection, and I just really like the artistic, the visualization of it. But I noticed as I was taking my color sensitivity up or down with that blue and aqua, that my reflection down here in the water was getting much darker than my sky. And I really want my sky to kind of match this darkness. But I don't want to put a vignette on it, because a vignette is going to give me a darker, lighter tones on all four of my edges. Well, we have something within black and white effects called our edge exposure, where you can, like you would in a dark room, be able to just expose one edge more or less to get a lighter or darker edge. So for this particular example, I want to have a darker top edge. So I'm going to open up my edge exposure. There we go. I'm going to click it on there with the little arrow, or with the check mark, and click on my top edge. Now I'm clicking on my top edge, and now I can come to my edge exposure. As I take it down, it's going to go darker, or I'm sorry, it's going to go lighter, and as I take it up, it's going to go darker. So you can get pretty dramatic with your edge exposure here very quickly, but you can also make it more subtle with your transition and the edge size. So you can bring that in to wherever you wanted to. It looks like that top edge has quite a bit of darkness just right there, so it's really starting to show. So I don't need it too much, but that gave me a little bit of extra tonality up top. Here's before and after. But the ability to come in and quickly just darken or lighten a specific edge within the image can really help the overall finishing look. The other thing I wanted to show you was the borders. Borders are fantastic in this program. This is our most comprehensive set of borders. So within this we have several different border types, and you can just scroll over them by clicking on the border type, and all the menu will pop up, and you can just go ahead and scroll over until you find something that you like for that particular image. Let's see here. I think I like, just go something kind of soft edged, like this grungy white 3. And then I can come in and change the size. As I take this up, the size of my border will increase. As I take it down, the size will decrease. So those borders are really important as far as going for a more traditional type of black and white processed looks, because a lot of the time you would have kind of grungy or not very exact borders in the darkroom, so we wanted to give you the ability to be a little bit more creative with your borders within this program. So that is something that's specific to black and white effects as well. Last thing that I definitely want to show you to quickly, because I know the look is pretty popular as far as just getting a little bit of the original tonality back in the image, or the original color, just to give it just a touch of blend with that original image. You can come down and do that from within the program just to see what it's going to look like. You can click on your transparency, and bring back in some of that original color. It's going to keep all of your adjustments as far as the exposure, as far as the brightness and the detail and things like that, but it will bring back in that color, which is really cool. So it can kind of start to give you almost a painter or a hand-painted or hand-tinted type of black and white image, and that was the intent of this particular tool. But I also just think it looks really pretty sometimes. Just to add in a touch of the color, it's almost like, wait, is that black and white or is that color? So here's before with just the neutral grayscale, and here's after. And I hope that I've shown you some of the tools within black and white effects that I feel are going to be most important for your landscape images. Just to recap, the tools that I feel are really essential are going to be your adaptive exposure and your basic exposure tools, the boost blacks and boost whites specifically. And within the adaptive exposure, your adaptive exposure and regions really will set your black and white processing apart from others. The ability to quickly change the original or the color within your image or the original image. So if you had a blue sky and you want to make it black really quickly, coming in and just taking your cyan and blue sliders down, you can really get a dramatic result very quickly. The ability to add in a color filter will just change everything. So cool. It just changes the overall effect of your entire image. However, and using these quick tools as well will really quickly allow you to see all the different choices you can have. I'm going to go back to my red. The creative effects are cool for more stylization. I'll show you that during the question Q&A portion. I'll show you a few of our stylized effects so you can see why our tagline for this program is called Black, White, and Beyond, because we go way beyond just your traditional black and white processing, but we also give you that choice to be very traditional in the effects that you apply as well. The local adjustments are great, but one of my the detail and smooth are just really awesome for being able to smooth out certain portions of your image and just really highlight the detailed area that you want your viewer's eye to go to immediately. And within black and white processing, that can be really important because you have all of these different, grayscale tones, and you're focusing more on shape and form and light. And having the ability just to add detail to texture just gives you that one more added something to draw a viewer's eye exactly where you want it to go. The last couple of things within the finishing touches are your different toning capabilities. You have your it's basically a duotone, your silver and paper tone, so you can add two different tones into your image, one into your silver and darker areas of your image, and then one into your lighter paper areas of your image. And you can choose those tones very simply by moving those sliders, or a more complex toning module that gives you all of it gives you complete control over your toning in your image and your black and white processing. So really cool stuff there. If you want to know more about that, we also have a Quick Tip Thursday webinar. I think it's about a 15-minute session about the quad tones specifically, because I know a lot of people get a little bit confused when they first see that as to how that's really working, the technology behind there. Film Grain has the True Grain library, but one thing that I really enjoy is the new borders that we have within this black and white 2.1 and the edge exposure, which will quickly allow you to be able to lighten and darken one specific edge versus just adding a vignette, which is beautiful as well, but this gives you a little bit more control. So I will go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope that this gave you some ideas onto which tools within black and white effects would be the best for you to easily create more compelling black and white landscapes very quickly without a lot of effort. So if you have any questions, just send them in to us at webinars@topazlabs.com and sign up for upcoming webinars at topazlabs.com/webinars. Thanks everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.